Hi, this is Anthony D'Alessandro from Deadline Hollywood, and this is our TIFF studio interview with the producer and director of Shell, Mr. Max Minghella. How are you?
Thanks for having me, man.
So this is a very different movie from Teen Spirit. Talk about the origins, and then Lizzie Moss she's a producer on this as well, in addition to starring.
So my first movie, Teen Spirit, which I was at this festival with about 6 years ago, it was my first movie. It was a very personal film. And I think as a result of that, it's quite a melancholic movie. And it was I'm a very introverted person. The film itself is actually quite introverted. And I think I came out of that experience yearning to make something that was more audience-facing and a kind of extrovert in a way. So what's interesting about these two movies is they explore very similar themes, but they approach it in almost an antithetical way.
Well, expound on that, the themes that are in this that you found in the script.
I mean, there are interesting parallels. Both stories are about women entering different aspects of like the entertainment industry, and there being some kind of disillusionment in different ways. And then also there's a kind of Mephistopheles character that exists in both movies. In Teen Spirit, it's Rebecca Hall. In this film, it's Kate Hudson.
Both of the films, the color aesthetic, just amazing. Can you talk about that? Like already in a great way, I could see you have a distinguished visual style.
I've worked with two very different cinematographers on these movies, both of whom are extraordinary, and I credit all of that to them. So my first movie, I got to work with Autumn Doral, who is here actually with Gia Coppola's movie, The Last Showgirl, and she's a genius. Everybody knows that, and we have a long-standing history of working together. On this movie, I worked with Drew Daniels, who I have been a fanboy of for a decade. To be honest, I didn't think we would ever be able to get Drew to do this movie. He's extremely particular about who he works with. If you look at his resume, it's hard to get him to make a movie, but he is so gifted. Obviously, he shot Sean Baker's film Honora, which won the Palme d'Or this year. This is a very different kind of film for him, stylistically. I think it's one of the most interesting parts of this movie is Drew's work in it. He's never shot a film like this. His films tend to exist in a very kind of naturalistic universe. Shell is not that. It's a very artificial aesthetic. It's really a love letter to a kind of studio filmmaking that doesn't really exist anymore. So I think for both Drew and I, it was really exciting to challenge ourselves in this way.
So you grew up on your dad's sets, and I'm just curious, what are some of the takeaways for you, even at a young age, that you either noticed about the way he worked or his approach, anything that stayed with you?
The boring answer is that my parents were fierce academics, so they didn't love to pull me out of school. So I was on set for a chunk of The English Patient and a chunk of The Talented Mr. Ripley, but mostly I was around for post-production. That was my childhood, honestly, because my father had a company with Sidney Pollack, so they also produced a lot of movies. And I basically spent most of my time either in sort of ADR sessions or test screenings, watching multiple cuts of movies. So the part of the process for me that I'm by far the most comfortable with is post. I sort of work backwards from the edit. When I write, even when I'm writing, I really try to think about where we're going to land and work backwards. I also make movies on very limited budgets, which are very ambitious. So part of that is kind of having a good plan going into it.
The other question I wanted to ask you is, what's the next film? Do you have something else that you're going to direct?
I will absolutely, hopefully be making more movies. It's my passion in life. I don't have, I've put everything into this basket. I'm a slightly crazy person. I think to the people around me, it's all I kind of think about. I've worked with Fred Berger and Brian Kavanaugh-Jones now on two projects in a row. They're really incredible collaborators, and I just hope we get to continue working together.
So Rosie Cordero, our TV reporter, is a huge fan of Handmaid's Tale, and I'm not allowed to let you leave until we ask you, is there any clue you can give us? Is there any happy ever after for Nick and June? Or is Nick is he the sacrificial lamb to keep June alive?
What's so interesting about the show is I don't know any more than anybody else. We don't get the episodes ahead of time. So much like life, I don't know what will happen tomorrow. So the very honest answer is I don't know what will happen with Nick and June this season, except I'm very excited for it. I'm really excited to shoot this. Yeah, and it's going to be very sad and sentimental. It's our last season. It's been a beautiful experience. But I love this character and I love the relationship between Nick and June. And I hope we get some really fun stuff to do.
When does it start shooting?
I will shoot my first day tomorrow, Wednesday.
Wow,
Yeah.
here
in Toronto.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Take
That's
off
great.
my hat and put on a different hat.
Max Minghella, director and producer of Shell, here at the Toronto International Film Festival. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.